welcome back once again to another Solid Gold video. This week's video is going to be a Q&A featuring questions only from my patrons on Patreon. And if you haven't heard of Patreon, I did make a video about that a few weeks ago, so I'll put a link to that in the description section below this video so you can get a feel for what that is all about. If you do want your questions to be featured in one of these Q&A videos, which I'll be doing every other month, then head on over to Patreon and consider maybe supporting Solid Gold over there, and then your questions can be featured in the next video as well. Before we jump right in, I do just want to make a couple of announcements about new things I've been working on for Solid Gold. The first one would be that I do have an email list going now, so if you want to be notified when my baby butterfly telescopes become available for sale, which will be very, very soon, any day now really, you can sign up for that email list. Just another way for us to keep in touch with one another and let me tell you what's going on in the Solid Gold universe. I'm filming in my new office right now. I'm working on getting it set up to be kind of like a goldfish shrine, so to speak. There's just goldfish stuff all over, as you can see behind me on the shelves. I have all my goldfish stuff set up. So it's gonna be like when I come into the office, I'm gonna feel like I'm in the mindset to work on Solid Gold stuff and get stuff done. It's gonna be great. If you guys maybe want to see a tour of the office space that I'm working from, feel free to request that in the comment section below. I don't want to give you guys a tour of the office unless you actually want to see it, so just let me know in the comment section below if that's something you're interested in seeing. Alright, so without further ado, I guess let's just get right into the questions, shall we? First question is coming in from Elaine Tan. Hi Elaine. She says, I would like to know how old you are. I can't figure it out. All I'm going to say about that for now is it's hard to determine my age based on my looks. What age do you guys think that I am? Elaine also says, how often and what do you feed your butterfly fry currently? Right now they are 6 months old, so I'm feeding them Saki Hikari pellets along with Repashy Soylent Green gel food and frozen brine shrimp. I try not to make pellets be too much of their total diet because I think that it can lead to some buoyancy and swim bladder issues if they're only eating a dry processed food, you know, too much or too often. So I try to give them wet foods like frozen foods or gel foods most of the time, but it is more labor intensive to do that, so it doesn't always happen, but that's my goal anyway. When they were younger, obviously when fry are really, really little, you have to feed them live baby brine shrimp, and that's extremely labor intensive because you have to hatch out the baby brine shrimp from the cysts, and you have to do that like 2 times a day to be able to feed them almost continuously. So it's a lot of work to raise goldfish fry. It's not easy, but it sure is a lot of fun and it's very rewarding. And then as they grow, you just kind of wean them off of the baby brine shrimp and try to introduce other things into their diet. One of the first things that I try to introduce after baby brine shrimp would be gel food, and just like a little piece, and I kind of try to squish it a little bit. So I break up the gel and put it in the water, and eventually they start picking away at it little by little, and that kind of trains them to eat prepared foods instead of live baby brine shrimp. Anna Butcher, hi Anna, would like to know, goldfish have such different personalities, so I was wondering who your favorite is and why. Wow, that's really hard to answer. I tend to pick my favorite fish based on their looks, and maybe that's not a good thing, I don't know. But my favorite fish would be Clyde. I just always felt like a special attachment to him. I guess I don't really know why. I think it's mostly because of how he looks, but he also obviously has an adorable personality. I would say probably the quirkiest personality goldfish that I have currently would be Luca, though. He's the all-white one. He's just always had kind of a weird look. His eyes are telescope eyes, but they kind of slightly point forward instead of straight out and up a little bit. So he always has this like really derpy look expression on his face. He's probably one of the more expressive goldfish that I've had, and he also isn't the best swimmer even compared to the other clumsy goldfish in the tank, so that kind of makes him more endearing to me as well. Anna Butcher also wants to know, what are your favorite quirks that your goldfish have? This maybe isn't really a quirk because I think that all goldfish to some extent do this, but one of my favorite things that goldfish do is when you put your hand in the tank, they come up and like nibble on you and suck on your hand and your fingers and stuff, and it's just so cute. Some of my fish now are big enough that they can fit my whole finger in their mouth, and so they just, well, not all the way down to the knuckle, but you know, like the whole end of my finger they fit in their mouth, and they just like, they won't give up. They think that it's gonna be food. Like, well, it wasn't food the first time, but maybe it will be the next time and the next time, and well, maybe the next time, and they just can't give up. They just keep trying, and they're very persistent, and maybe that's a good quality that we should all try to learn from our goldfish. Then Anna Ramos has several questions, and I'll try to answer as many of them as I can. Her first question is your opinion and recommendations for a planted goldfish tank. Some people will tell you that you can't keep plants with goldfish, but it's not true. You just have to be a bit more careful about planning and what plants you get, and you also have to just take a more experimental approach to it, because goldfish don't always like your plans, and they sometimes make plans of their own and then mess up your plans, and then you just have to adapt and change. There's kind of a rough list, I guess you could say, of certain plants that goldfish don't eat, but every goldfish is different. Some goldfish won't touch any plants, and some goldfish will eat any plants. But some of the plant varieties that typically are okay to put in a goldfish tank because the goldfish leave them alone would be like your Java fern, Anubias. Many types of crypts also seem to deter goldfish. Swords, although they do get really big, so you'd have to have a really large tank to be able to keep swords in your tank. And different types of Valsnaria can work well too. It just really, and that's not an exhaustive list by any means. It's just what I can think of off the top of my head right now. But I would say if you want to plant a goldfish tank, start with those plants, start there, and then if you want to try adding one that you're not sure if they'll eat or not later, go for it. Just don't splurge on it, you know, don't spend like $100 on plants that your goldfish might or might not eat. Just kind of do it little by little and see what they will leave alone and what they will mess with, and go from there. Anna Ramos also wants to know about goldfish tendencies to jump out of tanks for those who keep an open top tank. Now, most of the time for my tanks that are indoors, I do keep them open top, so without any glass top or anything, any hood or anything like that. For one thing, I just think it looks ugly, and for another thing, I think that it's good to have a healthy airflow between the water and the air outside of the tank, and I've never had any issues. I do think though, if you have single tail, slim bodied goldfish, it is better to have a top over it, because those ones are a lot more likely to jump. But if you've seen my goldfish, it's pretty clear that they're not doing any jumping anytime soon. They're big round-bodied fish with big fins, and just swimming alone is hard enough for them that they wouldn't even try jumping. I have never seen any of my fish ever try to jump, and that's saying a lot because I've had a lot of fish. So that's it for this Q&A video, guys. Thank you so much for submitting your questions, and thank you for watching. Don't forget that if you want your questions to be featured in one of these videos in the future, you can go on over to my Patreon page. The information will be all down in the description section below, and become a patron, or consider becoming a patron, to leave questions for me for next time. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay gold. This video was made possible through the generous support of viewers like you. To find out more, go to patreon.com/solidgoldfish.